Peter Gammons back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you been, Peter?
I've been great, Rich. Thank you.
What names do you think we're hearing tonight? What do you think?
Well, we certainly hear Chipper Jones and Jim Thome. I think we'll hear Vladimir Guerrero and Trevor Hoffman and Edgar Martinez. I think it'll be a very large class. But I think it's so hard. People do great work on counting up all the looking at the ballots and so forth. But there's still some precincts that haven't reported. So the vote could change in northern Michigan, So we don't know, but I think there's a very good chance that all five of them can make it in.
Well, I mean, and with Morris and Trammell, that looks like a football class with 7 human beings on a stage. That would be a nice long day in the Cooperstown Meadow if that happens. I just hear so much about how Edgar Martinez doesn't deserve it because he rarely picked up a glove, Peter. I mean, where do you stand on
that? Therefore, that eliminates David Ortiz.
I guess it does, doesn't it?
Because Ortiz DH'd in 88% of the games he played, Martinez in 76. As a DH, Martinez's OPS plus and the WAR were higher than Ortiz's. So, I mean, it's the DH is part of where it came under the rules of the game when they both played. Now, I understand that the defense is very important and so forth, but they were such extraordinary hitters, both of them. Edgar just didn't get the chance, although he did have an OPS well over 1,000 in the postseason when Seattle made it. Because we know Seattle's gone many years without being in the postseason. But I think it's going to be really close with Edgar and whether or not he makes it. And I think it'll be very close. There are a lot of people who feel that Trevor Hoffman was not a dominant type of closer. I mean, and I think sometimes people underrate the importance of the stability of having one guy who year after year after year is there to close games, especially when you have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. And I thought that, Trevor had 30 saves 12 times, Mariano Rivera 13 times. I mean, that's I think Trevor belongs in, but it's some of the other the numbers, hits per innings pitched, strikeout walk ratio, things like that. It just it depends. And the other thing that I think that, and I worry a little bit about this with the Hall of Fame, is it becomes too much of an academic adventure. I mean, we're not determining who gets into Harvard Medical School. and a guy like Trevor Hoffman, I mean, I don't think there's a Petco Park without Trevor Hoffman all those years and the stability he brought to the franchise. And that's beyond his work ethic and the leadership he had for all the young pitchers. But I think there's more to it than just the numbers. And I think that there are certain cases where, it hurts Billy Wagner because he pitched for whatever it was, 6 teams or whatever. But Hoffman was that franchise for a long time, and he was still in his prime and was really good when they had their one shot to get a ballpark built, and they got to the World Series and they got the ballpark built, which is now, to me, it's one of the best ballparks and best atmospheres to go to a game in baseball.
Peter Gammons in the Honda Insider Report here on the day that the 2018 Hall of Fame class in Cooperstown is going to be fully revealed. He's right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where does Curt Schilling stand, Peter?
I think Mussina and Schilling eventually make it. I'm not sure anyone, given the way starting pitching is today, I don't know if anyone will ever top Mussina's 270 wins. To me, I voted for him every time he's put on the ballot. I don't understand why he isn't in. I think he's one of the 25 best starting pitchers in the history of the game, and people go, well, he doesn't have those great postseason. Well, he beat Josh Beckett in 2003, beat Randy Johnson twice, 2007. He won 2-1 in the Derek Jeter flip game over Barry Zito, who was the Cy Young Award winner that year. He had a 15 strikeout game and a one hitter in the postseason. I mean, he was good at everything. It just he didn't worry about if the Orioles were 10 games out. He didn't worry about whether or not he was going to win 20 games, and I think that probably hurt him. Although, ironically, he won 20 games in his last season.
And then ask him the poll question, Chris Brockman, here on today's show to Peter Gammons.
Yeah, Peter, which of these guys linked to steroid use will be the first inducted eventually? Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire.
Well, McGwire's already out. And I think Bonds will be the one. I mean, there are others that have been elected whose names were linked a lot to steroids. So it's in some ways it's already happened. I look at it this way though. Once they started the testing, and that was 2005, if you were caught breaking the rules of the sport, which again they didn't have drug testing until 2005, or official drug testing. You violated the rules. And I put them into the Pete Rose category. Pete Rose is not. I'm not allowed to vote for him because of breaking a very important major league rule. But Rafael Palmeiro and Manny Ramirez. Ramirez was 2 or 3 times, and I don't think those guys. I don't think that they should make it in. But I think it's a little bit different for the guys who didn't technically get caught. They might have been a couple of cases that got mentioned in the Mitchell report. I think Sosa's a very curious. I mean, it's amazing that half the times 60 home runs have been hit, that he's got half of them. But I can also make the case that you watch his power go up. The on-base percentage and power, home run totals moved on. There were separate tracks, but they moved in the same direction, almost at the same speed. It's a case. I've wondered in not voting for Sosa whether I'm being hypocrite here, voting for Bonds and Clemens the last couple of years. Am I discriminating against Sosa? Well, if I am, mea culpa.
Well, how about this one, Peter? I mean, out of all those guys, would you not agree, and I know this is really twisting the issue at hand, all right? Would you agree that Sosa is the one that needed steroids to be in this list? That Bonds, McGwire, Clemens, A-Rod didn't really need to do it.
No, right? I mean that's the sad part. It's almost like Shakespearean tragedy with A-Rod in that there was no need for it. It was for Barry. He was just mad. He had a better year than McGwire or Sosa in '98, and it really ticked him off because he knew he was a much better player. And then it started. But up to that point, he was already a Hall of Famer, and Clemens too. I mean, before he went to Toronto, I mean he was assured of being a Hall of Famer. But at the same time, I mean, there are people who say 1 or 2 times, but I mean there was a lot of speculation about Piazza, about Pudge Rodriguez, about Bagwell, 1 or 2 other guys, and there were even guys back in who got inducted or played in the '80s. That some people feel did do it. We just didn't know. We really didn't understand what steroids were or what they could do. And so it's a really complex thing. Bob Costas always says it's about authenticity, not morality, and I think that's a legitimate thing. I mean, some of the records that Bonds put up after '98 with the 73 home runs and things like that, they got a little bit absurd. Although, I mean, we could have seen Stanton get there this last year. And I don't think anyone's ever questioned him.
Peter Gammons of MLB Network again, 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. The coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on MLB Network of the Hall of Fame. Before I let you go on the Honda Insider Report here, why is the free agent market so locked up? Is it Boris or is it collusion? What do you got for me, Peter, on this front?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think that there was a lot of figuring by owners that this was a good year to make the players come to the teams, not the teams go to the players. And I think we've seen we still, it's not only the big hitters, the J.D. Martinez and Eric Hosmer. I mean, we've seen basically with Darvish and Arrieta and Cobb and Lance Lynn, I mean, there's been very little movement. I mean, even though there have been a lot of reports on Darvish, and it may happen in the next week because we're getting very close to spring training, there really hasn't been any clear leader in that. Nobody's come forth with something that you say, oh boy, okay, that's going to be a really good deal for him. So there's been a slow play. I think that the fact that Scott shoots very high, and I think he has a very good grasp of how much money some of these teams are making. I mean, he goes. Look, the Red Sox get $600 million in revenues. Why shouldn't they sign J.D. Martinez for 7 years and $200 million? It's not going to happen, but I understand his thinking, and it has to break sometime. Although I do believe there'll be 2 to 4 pretty good free agents that go right up into March. I really believe that. I think that's we started saying back in December that January was the new December. Now we're saying February is the new January. Well, we may be saying that that March is the new February.
Peter, have a great time tonight with the Hall of Fame class. You're always welcome whenever you're out here in Los Angeles.
I have a good football item for you.
What do you have for me, Peter?
Well, one of my favorite characters who works with me at MLB Network is Eric Burns.
Okay.
Eric Burns played baseball and football at St. Francis, north of San Francisco, against Sarah, where Tom Brady played.
Yeah.
Not only did he say that Tom Brady hit the longest home run he's ever seen for a high school hitter, but when St. Francis beat Sarah 62-3, Burns sacked Brady 3 times. Only Eric Burns could have sacked Tom Brady 3 times.
Now, is that a fish story, or where one sack was really 3?
I believe it. Eric was actually a really good football player. So
okay, but he said that Brady was a really good baseball player. He
had the longest home run he ever saw.
As the legend of Brady grows, so goes Peter Gammons. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time. Always. There's Peter Gammons.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.